Hey gang, okay, so we're going on with our discussions about entrepreneurship and innovation. Today I have a special treat for you. I have a good friend of mine. This is Charlie Brown. He is a member of Prepcast, does his own online radio broadcasting of high school and college sporting events. Charlie and I have been together for a couple of years now. He has brought on some of our students to do internships. My wife was his grandson's teacher.
She is, and bless her for that.
his son-in-law is my two boys, their choir teacher, and he gives voice lessons to my daughter. So we've got a good connection here. But I wanted to visit with Charlie a little bit today as we deal with entrepreneurship, as we deal with innovation, because he is an entrepreneur with what he does with Prepcast. He's had to work some with innovation as Prepcast has added some of the things that they've done. So I'm going to ask him a few questions and just let him share with us. And then when we're done with the interview, I'll stop the tape, and then I've got a couple other things that I want to talk to you about with these two topics as well. Then we'll get into just what's coming up this next week. Okay? So, starting off, Charlie, thank you for being here. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you.
Give me a little bit about your background and what got you involved with Prepcast.
I've been around baseball for 50 plus years. And a local radio station in Boonville lost their sports announcer right before baseball season started. He died of cancer. So I called the radio station guy and I said, I know a little bit about baseball. I've never done any broadcasting, but I know a little bit about baseball. And he said, great, you got the job. It's yours. Take it. Because he knew that I didn't. I knew some things about it. So that's how I started. I started out doing Boonville high school baseball games, 10 of them a season. Now I do about 25 of their games a season on Prepcast. I started out doing the radio part of it, and Prepcast, when I got into Prepcast, was doing audio only. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty much the same thing, just a little more equipment. And the way I got into it, I was doing a district or a sectional girls basketball game at Lee Summit, and sitting next to me was a gentleman that does Prepcast. When we got done, he handed me a card and he said, if you ever want to do more than just this, let me know. So that's how I got started with Prepcast, because I did want to do more than that, because for Boonville, I started with baseball. And then the next thing, I've got softball. And then the next thing after that, I've got basketball. I've got everything but football. Now I do their football too. So, but that's how I kind of got started with Prepcast. And going into it, to begin with, I was a paid employee. I got paid so much per ball game, which
for
is
Prepcast.
Not for Prepcast. Okay. And the same way for the radio station. Mm-hmm. It's not sustainable to just get I was getting $35 a game. Well, once you consider I'm driving 2 hours to do a ball game somewhere and back, I'm really not getting anything for it. So then I began to find out how I could branch out and do more things. And the way to do that was by becoming a salesman for Prepcast. So I go out and I sell advertising, and I get a commission. I get a split of everything I bring in. I'm no longer paid by the game by them. Now I'm paid by the advertiser that comes in. So if I want to go into a new market, I currently do Boonville and Sedalia. I do all the Smith Cotton stuff for them. If I want to go to a new market like Warrensburg, I have to decide, are there viewers that want to watch it? Are there advertisers that want to pay for it? And that's pretty much it. I have no control over the athletic department, the athletic director, or anybody else as to whether or not they're going to welcome me with open arms. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times they won't. Yeah. Because we're bucking against the local radio station somewhere. And they have allegiance to the radio station because the radio station's been there forever. Right. So, like with Smith Cotton, we do all of their football games. We do not get a spot in the press box. We're outside because they've only got 2 spots. Visiting media, home media. Radio station's the home media. We're not, even though we're providing everything else. So that's how I kind of got started with it, and that's how I can supplement the income that I have, is through the advertising part of it. So that's where the entrepreneurship comes in. You have to be able to sell your product, and you have to be able to sell you to that person. Because if you can't sell your product, they're not going to buy it, and if you can't sell you, they're going to wonder who they're going to get. So that's what I have to face when I go into somewhere, when we decide to go into a new market. And we've got markets that we're looking at right now, all around mid-Missouri. We're looking at Versailles. We're looking at California. We're looking at Warrensburg. I mean, there's several other towns that we want to do this in that we have response from, but we just aren't sure yet if we would have the sponsorship necessary to do a broadcast. So that's how I got into broadcasting in general. I started really late. I wish this was available when I was younger, but then again, I don't, because I'm where I'm supposed to be,
right,
doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's a great hobby for me that supplements my income, and it keeps me around sports all year long. I can do anywhere from 125 broadcasts above per year if I choose to.
So what led first of all, tell us who developed Prepcast, who owns it, but what led them to start this venture as opposed to, say, going and buying a radio station? Why did they start this online radio?
Bob Ryan started it. He's in St. Louis. He started it years ago as a way for family members that were not present to be able to see games. He's retired since then, so he was older when he got it. And he did it because he knew there were things he was missing with his children and his grandchildren that he couldn't get to. So he developed the idea of, let's just do audio over the internet and provide this to families who can't be here to watch the ball game.
So all he had to do was get a website together and a way to feed the audio to it, so
Correct.
wherever they are, they could listen to the audio. Okay.
Correct. And that's the way it started. And then about a year and a half ago, we put in the video component of it. And the idea for that was, well, if we're going to be there and you can listen to it, how about if we could show it to you and you could see who the people are involved, which has been a great thing for us, because we've had servicemen deployed overseas contact their wives that they're watching it online and come up and tell us they're watching it online, which is a great thing for us to hear. We did a hockey tournament recently in Chicago, and in the top 10 cities, because we get demographics, were 3 Russian cities.
Huh.
We had people in Russia watching a hockey tournament in Chicago.
Now you did that with one of our graduates, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that last year with Ian Ross, and but he didn't go this year because he's got a new baby that he needs to take care of. But yeah, and so that's the idea. Was we were already there. All we really need to do is change a little bit of equipment and add a camera, and that's what we've done. And since then, we've gone to a little better programming. We've paid to have it upgraded to where we now have instant replay available, and we broadcast in high definition in HD all the time, as long as the connection with the internet is good enough to sustain it.
So are you usually going into markets where there maybe isn't a radio station, or maybe the radio station will do high school football and basketball, but they don't do volleyball, they don't do softball? So you're trying to fill a niche that is not being covered at this point.
And once you can get in for like baseball, because the radio stations don't do a lot of high school baseball games, once you can get in and get a fan base to try and find you, then you can do the other sports and they'll continue to find you. Because we've got a web page with a calendar on it of all our games. And people go to the web page to see what we're doing, and then they find a game that they like and they click on it and they start watching. Okay. So once we get them to start driving back to our website, then it's easier to do the other sports against the radio station. We're not in direct competition with them. We're not trying to steal their sponsors. We're just offering an alternative that they can't do. They can give you the audio, but they can't necessarily give you the video.
Now, it's interesting you bring that up, because there are a lot of radio stations that are starting to do more with video. What does that mean for Prepcast?
Okay. A lot of the radio stations do it Facebook Live. With Facebook Live, you have no graphics, you have no commercials, and a lot of times you have no audio. And it's not in HD. So we have all of those things.
Providing all of it.
Right. Okay. And so if you advertise with us versus advertise with a Facebook Live feed, you're going to get graphics up on the screen that tell you exactly what's going on at any point in time. You're going to get it in HD. Your sponsors are going to get ads, because we can actually run their television ads on our website during the ball game. So they're going to get a presence that they're not going to get on the radio station. If it's Facebook, there's just dead air between timeouts or innings or whatever. So that's what we offer that is a little bit different than what the radio station can do. Right now, we're getting ready to do a bunch of district basketball. There is a $500 broadcast fee that Misha charges for every one of those broadcasts. We're a partner with Misha. We don't have to pay $500. Radio station wants to do it, they have to pay $500.
Okay. All right. So it's not just radio. You do the video, you do the replay, you do the graphics. But it started out as radio. What led them to adding those extra components? What was the decision to do that?
There's no extra cost other than equipment. So that's all there was to it. The decision was, do we want to spend a little bit of money on cameras and provide a video component to this that doesn't cost our viewers anything extra? Or do we want to just stay status quo? Well, there's a lot of people that do status quo. We decided we would rather do the video part of it along with the audio because we'll be able to get more people to come. Not only do we broadcast it live, but we leave it on our website. It's archived and it sits there for 2 years. You can go back 2 years from now and watch last night's ball game if you want to. And we have a bunch of people that go back and watch it. We have a school in St. Louis that they play their football games, then they go to this pizzeria and they watch the replay of the football game while they're eating pizza.
So we've talked a lot about with innovation, with like adding new technology to it. You don't add innovation just for the sake of adding it. Somebody else is doing it, so we have to do it.
Correct.
So are there any people doing Prepcast that have decided, because again, you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
Prepcast was an entrepreneur to develop this whole thing itself. You're an entrepreneur in yourself because you've bought in and now you do your own advertising. So you're almost a subcontractor for Prepcast.
That's basically what I am.
Are there some who have decided, no, I don't want to add the innovation? And if not, why not?
Well, to add the innovation, we all had to switch from Windows-based laptops to MacBooks. So there's a used MacBook is $900. Mm-hmm. Then you've got to get the camera, $150 to $200. You've got to get the equipment to go with it, which is another couple of $100. So you've got about a $1,500 or so outlay of cash to be able to do the video component. We have a couple of people that don't have the funding that they think they'll be able to recoup their money in any kind of a timely fashion. They don't want to upgrade, so they're running on an older system that's not HD, that does not have the sustainability, does not have the capability of running on a network without a problem.
So then, as opposed to putting themselves in a cash-strapped position, or I would assume some of them, I don't have the expertise to be able to do this, and I don't have the time to learn it, as opposed to doing either putting themselves in a cash-strapped position or to doing a half-hearted production when they're trying to learn this new innovation versus doing what we've been doing and doing it well. They're just making that decision that it's better to not innovate.
Correct.
And do what we do and do it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, there's two issues. That the price issue comes up, and then learning something new. And we have an affiliate in St. Genevieve that's an older gentleman that just doesn't want to do it. He wants to carry around all of his old equipment because it makes him sound good. He has seen now what it looks like to do it under the new system with a new laptop with less stuff, and he likes it, and now he's learning it. But it took a while because he just didn't want to change.
Yeah.
So you have one group that doesn't want to change because they like it the way it's been. You have another group that says, I don't see where it's going to make me any more money for me to spend $1,500 because I'm going to have the same ball games I had before. They just won't be as good a quality as yours, but I can't see $1,500 sunk into it. Mm-hmm. Makes a difference to me. And then you've got the rest of us that say, because we started out, it was optional to get HD. As soon as we saw what HD looks like, it was not even a thought. We just need to pay a little bit extra and get HD. Because I put up the hockey games from Chicago, I put them up on my 60-inch TV. And there's very little distortion by putting it up on your TV. Mm-hmm. And we've got people that watch our broadcasts on their big screen TV. Fitter's Restaurant here in town puts the Warrensburg games up on their matrix down there. So they've got it all over their restaurant when Warrensburg's playing. So it offers us a better look, and it offers them a better look. And I think they think for the dollars they're spending for it, they're getting more by having the better look.
Okay. So last question, what's next as we go into the future? If you grab your crystal ball and think about what's next for Prepcast, or what's next for you?
Well, for Prepcast, we right now, our laptops, we are only able to run 2 cameras off of our laptops, which for most of us is not a problem for some of the things. But when we get to a bigger thing, a bigger event, we want to be able to go 4 cameras, which means we need 4 camera people, mm-hmm. plus we need a producer, plus we need 2 on-air talents. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
and they're all going to get paid at some point in time or another. So we would like to get to the point where we have an on-site producer, because we do all of our production off of that laptop. There's nobody in a studio anywhere. It's all loaded on the laptop, and you have to run your ads. You have to do all the stuff yourself. We would like to be able to get to where we have a production team, and we have our announcing teams, and we have our videographers all lined up for a big event so we can do that. And that's the next thing for us, is to go out and find more talent to be able to do more things. Because right now, James Snorenberg from here went with me and did an internship. He's now getting to do jobs for us. I'm going to Lynn, Missouri tomorrow to do district basketball. James is going to Boonville to do district basketball for us. So his presence with us has gotten him some paid jobs, and it's got him a lot of experience. We're going to have to find more people if we're going to branch out into Warrensburg, because on a Friday night for football, I'm in Boonville, James is in Sedalia. Somebody would have to do Warrensburg. So we're going to have to find and develop some more people that are interested in wanting to do this, off the videographer part, off the production part, off of play-by-play, off of color, all of that, and want to get out and maybe make a little extra money by going to some of the sponsors and the businesses and saying, hey, would you like to get involved in this? And then that's another set of equipment we have to buy.
Okay. All right, so that gives you an idea of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, some of the thoughts that go into innovating and expanding what you're already doing. If you're caught on, start small. As the market bears and as you can find the talent, that's when you can start to expand. So hopefully that helped put a little picture to what you've been reading about as we get ready to do the case studies for this week. Don't go away. I'll be right back, and we'll kind of wrap this one up, and we'll talk a little bit more about this coming week. See you in a minute. Okay, I hope you found that useful. I have to tell you that if I were to do my career over again, I do think that's the route I would go. I would want to be a sportscaster. I'd want to work in sports radio, or work in radio, but part of that being do the sports. So if I were to start over as a college student, I think my first effort, of course, would be to try and find a job at a radio station, get a chance to do some high school play-by-play, report the news, do some voiceover work, do some ad sales, and do those sorts of things. If I couldn't find a job in a radio station, though, I would take that route of a Prepcast. Find a job that would put food on the table, that would pay me. But then, I would do my own blog, I would do my own podcast, and then I would try and get a job with Prepcast so I could actually practice the skills and do what I had been trained to do, and be able to start building my brand. Be able to be an entrepreneur and build my own brand and try and sell myself, so that when a radio job did come open, I could jump into that. Part of it comes down to your motivation. What motivates you? What drives you if you're going to be an entrepreneur? I've never been really driven by money. For me personally, I want to live comfortably. I want to live happily. I want to be able to take care of my family. But that's not really what motivates me. What motivates me personally, and you think about that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is I want to be comfortable, but I want to do something I love. I want to be able to get up out of bed every day and go do a job that I enjoy doing, that I'm passionate about, that I think is worthwhile. If I were to start over again and was able to do the job that I wanted to do, even though it may not make me the most money, I'd be perfectly content with that. But that's me. That's what drives me. You've got to find what motivates you and what drives you if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Are you a risk taker? Are you willing to go out there and take some gambles? Okay, that's good. Make sure they're calculated. Make sure, from your text, what it talked about is you need to take some risks, but they need to be educated risks. You need to make sure you've done your research, you've done your homework. So you go out there and give yourself a chance to be successful. How many startups have failed because they took big risks and they didn't plan ahead? They also took that big risk and they jumped right away. They went and they tried to innovate and build things right away. You listen to Charlie talking about with Prepcast, they started small and they've gradually expanded, and they're wanting to continue to expand, but they're not going to get out ahead of themselves. So that's the kind of thing you need to think about as an entrepreneur, where your media management and leadership is you leading yourself. And then as you expand, now you're going to have to lead others. Okay. And as we talk about innovation, when we get into the discussions about innovation, the two things that really jump out to me that I really want to stress to you is, number one, don't innovate just to innovate. If you don't have the expertise, if you don't have anybody in your organization that has the expertise, don't innovate because somebody else is doing. Don't bring in the new technology just because it's there. You better have a reason for it. You better have some expertise or a way to get that expertise. You better be able to afford it, and you better make sure that the market can bear it and can support it. All right? So that's something to consider with innovation. You also, as a media manager and as a leader, how are you going to get this innovation diffused into your organization? I talked about that book that I have, Diffusion of Innovation by Everett Rogers. One of the things he stresses is find champions. Find those decision makers within the organization that are on that line level, that aren't in management. Get them on board and get them to lead the other people through it. And get those champions that are going to come on board with you, that are either going to agree with you, or they're going to be able to confer with you and consult with you so that you maybe make some decisions that are going to be accepted, that you aren't trying to do some things that aren't possible. You're going to be able to learn more about the expertise of your crew. You're going to be able to learn more about their comfort level. And, sometimes you're going to have to push them out of that. But that champion is going to help you be able to determine how you make that happen. All right? So find those champions. Be open and transparent. You have to communicate with your subordinates. You have to communicate with your employees so they understand what it is that's happening, why it's happening, and what does it mean for the organization, and what comfort level they're going to be at. They're going to be pushed. You're going to be uncomfortable with this, and here's why. But we're going to help you get through that. If you can, offer them some training opportunities, offer some professional development, offer some incentives if that's a possibility. It may not be financial, it may be in the way of gifts, it may be in the way of promotions, it may be in the way of just simply cross-training. And we're going to keep life interesting because you're not going to keep doing the same job. You're going to have a chance to do something else and really grow as a professional, as a person. Okay? So those are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. This week, we are getting into the case studies for chapters 4 and 6. And I got to be honest with you, as we're doing this right now, I forgot to look and see which case studies we're going to do. So bear with me just a minute. With chapter 4, I believe, yeah, it was case study 4.1 that I want you to do. Do case study 4.1 from chapter 4. And then from chapter 6, dealing with innovation. Wait for it. Wait for it. It was chapter 6, it was 6.1, the planning convergence part 1. So 4.1 from chapter 4, 6.1 from chapter 6. We're doing the case studies for entrepreneurship and innovation. You also have a discussion board post that you need to be doing this week. Discussion board post number 4. So go to your discussion board, take a look at that, and get that one done as well. All right? This is a big week. A lot of things going on with this one, but you can handle it. I'm quite confident. Chapter 4, 4.1. Chapter 6, 6.1. Discussion board post number 4. These are all due by Sunday at midnight. You got questions? Give me a holler. Keep working on your midterm projects, all right? That is March 11th by 5 p.m. Those are going to be due. So be working on your midterm projects. Graduates, you also have that graduate article reflection. So I know I've given you a whole lot to be thinking about here, but keep in mind, this is week 7. We have week 8, which is March 4th through 8. We have March 9th, which is 11th through 15th. And then it's spring break. Okay? Hang in there. Give me a holler if you have any questions.